This is the Drew Mariani Show on Relevant Radio.
All right, 14 before the hour. So good to be with all of you today. Hey, thanks for joining us. We're in the middle of our series, Our Graceful Heritage. We're taking a look today at the early church. We're spotlighting the role of female conservative candidates and taking a look at how early Christians helped to transform both the social and the political climate of the day, and what some of these female leaders today may be able to glean from early Christians. And doctors, let's pick it up right there, because that's such, I think, an important aspect. We're very familiar with some of the most popular women in the early church. You've got the mother of Christ, Mary. You've got Mary Magdalene, and so many others. And then as you go through the early centuries, there's some great virgin martyrs as well. What role did women play, after the death and resurrection of Christ, and how are they viewed by the society of their time?
You know, women played such an important role in the early church. One of the most important things that they did was that they made their homes a refuge for fellow Christians. This was tantamount to a political statement, because at the time the Roman Empire was persecuting all Christians. So to be a Christian in and of itself was a political act. I really want your audience to understand that theme, because you said earlier that people say, well, if we're Catholics, we're Christians, we shouldn't be talking about politics. Mm-hmm. At the inception of Christianity, to be Christian itself was a political act. And increasingly in our day, that's becoming our reality. To be Christian itself increasingly is inviting persecution just for the fact that you are that. So one of the things that I see going back to the early era is that women made their homes a safe place for fellow Christians to congregate, to discuss, to strategize, to plan, to plot, to think about how they were going to make their influence felt across the country. And some of these women were extremely effective. I list some of these in my piece. We know that St. Monica, of course, she bred a son who would become one of the intellectual giants of his day, St. Augustine. There is also Queen Clotilde, and she converted her husband, Clovis I. He was the king of the Franks, and then, as we know, France itself became a Catholic nation. There's also a woman by the name of Hilda of Whitby. She founded a monastery, and a monastery was one of the few places where women could be given a safe haven to be Christians and also to get an education. So women there were educated, and Hilda herself, she educated other men who became bishops and even saints. So women played such a pivotal role, especially in converting others, converting men, being educators, and providing an area for fellow Christians to meet one another. Yeah. And, of course, women were also martyrs. And one of the individuals that moves me the most is Perpetua. And I explain her story. This was a young woman who refused to renounce her faith, even though she was imprisoned. And I detail some passages from a narrative that she left us where she is having a discussion with her father, and her elderly father is just begging her to please accept the Roman God so she can be set free and he won't have to watch her be killed. And despite all the grief that she feels, she decides that she is going to stand no matter what as a witness to Christ, and she ends up being thrown to the wild beasts in the Roman arena as the spectators watch. That was a form of sport in their day, in that time. So one of the things I point out to all of the readers of Our Graceful Heritage is that women back then, they had to fight an establishment, and they found every tool that they could to help men to do that.
What lessons can the leaders of today learn from these early Christian martyrs? I know a lot of them suffered to the death for their faith, and as you said, not only did they help foster Christianity and bring about conversion, but they gave their life for it. What can we learn? What are the lessons that can be applied to those females who are now running for office?
Well, I have to say this at large. I want to answer your question first at large. The point is that Christianity became triumphant over several centuries. And it wasn't the work of any one woman. It wasn't the work of any one man. It took generations to do that, and everybody played a key role, from those who were the educators like Hilda, those who were the influenced kings like Queen Clotilde, to the women that just allowed Christians to congregate. And I think we can take inspiration from that. It takes many of us in all our different acts and walks of life, with all our talents, to come together, especially to create social networks that allow us to build upon each other, and also to be in positions that we can influence decision makers. Now, these women, this is really exciting, because these are going to be women that are going to be at the center of power. And we saw that it took Christians generations to actually overthrow the emperors that were persecuting them, to then get favorable emperors. We too, as Christians, can take heart that it will take time, that as we press forward those who represent our views, not just in politics but in every arena, we may once again influence the culture in a way that it becomes reflective of Christian values.
All right, my guest today, Dr. Grace Vuoto. Doc, I've got only about a minute left, and I want to plug your institute. Your article can actually be read at Edmund Burke Institute. It's .org, right?
Yes.
.org. We also have a link at relevantradio.com. Keyword Drew will bring you over there as well, and you could check out that article. Every 2 weeks, you're going to post a new article in this series, Our Graceful Heritage?
Yes, I am so honored to do so, Drew.
It's going to be fun. I'm really looking forward to it. I appreciate this article and all the great work you do over there. Hey, folks, they're a nonprofit, and as always, when you support Relevant Radio, you give voice to all of these groups, but don't forget those organizations also could certainly use support. So if you could, check them out and check the great work that Dr. Vuoto is doing there.
Thank you so much, and I could use help from anybody out there who wants to help me to convert more women and minorities to the conservative movement. Whatever your talents are, please get in touch with me. We want to do like the early Christian martyrs, take advantage of every gift out there, early Christian writers and thinkers and martyrs, every gift out there, to try to make some positive change.
All right. Hey, Doc, always a pleasure. Stay on the line. I'm going to talk to you real quick. Folks, stay with me. I'll be back with more.